Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids for a surprise video. I really didn't expect this, right? It's the middle of Sunday, and we've got news, which is really unusual. And again, this news has completely blindsided me, no question. We're going to be having a lunar deck of fate basically out of nowhere. This is happening tomorrow, the 5th of February, and it's running until Friday, the 9th of February. Again, remember that the next fusion, who looks really good, is starting on Thursday, the 8th. Tying into this, obviously, right after this deck of fate ends, and we are going to be opening shards for it. You're going to have a summon rush event for the February fusion. So that's a really big consideration. I would say you almost definitely want to be grabbing this February fusion, in which case you need to be prepared for that summon rush. So yeah, you need to have enough shards for that summon rush to not get caught out by it, but potentially also to go for this if you want to. So let's look at what do you get out of this. So it's a deck of fate event. You can get fate lanterns by getting artifacts, basically dungeon divers, or opening shards. Needless to say, we've had this sort of before. Typically speaking, to do it purely with shards would be about 20 sacred shards, roughly, to do it. Dungeon divers is likely to, depending on how much you grind, it might add up to 1, 2, 3, maybe shards worth. So yeah, that's kind of it. With these deck of fates, the way it's set up, right, is that typically you have to go to oftentimes the last card or two because you need to get every single fragment card and you don't know where they are. So typically it means you have to flip nearly every single thing. You might be able to do this with, let's say, about 15 sacreds plus dungeon divers plus a little bit of luck. You might have to go a bit further if you're really unlucky. You go all the way to your last card, which isn't too uncommon. I think I can't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head. I think about 1 in 3 people have to go to the final card. I think 2 in 3 people, as much as that, have to go to the final 2 cards. So it's likely you have to go nearly the whole way, and that's sort of the rough cost of it. What is the reward? Champion fragments for Fatalis Blademaster. Yeah, so this is crazy because when we first saw the Monster Hunter stuff, like we had a whole information deck. We had a whole bunch of info in terms of how we would be getting each of these champions, right? And we knew we got one from the fusion. One was a login event. Fatalis Blademaster, he said shards only. It was the only way to get him was just from pulling shards, which technically this kind of is, but also technically, I don't know, you might technically be able to do it with just dungeon divers. So saying it was shards only was not actually true. And then we had in-game activities for the archer, which again, there's not been any really in-game activity for her. There's just been the summon pool. Maybe it did say summon pool. I don't remember now. Maybe it was in-game activities for Alatreon, and we did have him. Is Fatalis Blademaster worth going for in this surprise guaranteed? I mean, I do find it frustrating because we basically got told this info as to how we'd be able to get these 5 Monster Hunter champions. Limited edition, they're gone away after the 5th of March. They basically told us how we could get them. And now that they've added in a new way to get this guy that wasn't there before. So I'm sure there are plenty of you that, based off of the official information Plarium put out, went and possibly spent money buying shards to pull for him in a Void 10x because he was a limited fusion, right? Or not a limited fusion, he's a limited edition champion. Maybe you bought Void shards, to do that. Maybe you had lots of Void shards saved up and you pull them all in that 10x because you wanted to get this guy. Even though he's not that good, you still want to get him because he was limited edition. And now it comes out, oh, well, he's a guaranteed champion, actually making him pretty darn accessible, relatively speaking, right? Certainly compared to going for him in a 10x, which cost thousands of shards, tens of thousands of dollars, potentially. Getting him in a guaranteed event is much more doable, right? Like I said, you're looking at about 20 sacreds, roughly, quite possibly a little bit less. Is he any good? Let's look at the reviews. The reviews are shocking. And I mean, this is the big question is there going to be a buff for this champion? Did they go, oh, okay, people don't actually like this champion, give him away in a guaranteed event we weren't planning? Sure, we'll throw him in for a guaranteed. We won't buff him, but we'll say, well, he's not super strong because he was accessible. Like, what is the logic here? What's going on? Don't really know. But fairly unimpressed. The champion, he does ignore defense 15% if he crits. His multipliers just aren't that high, though, which is sort of a problem. He just doesn't hit that hard. He does build up decreasing their defense, and that's kind of nice. That's cool. He's got a 3-turn AoE, decrease defense. It doesn't hit very hard, but it does decrease defense. He's got a single target. I believe this was bugged initially, and it has been bug fixed, so this should do more damage now. I think before it wasn't actually ignoring these buffs properly. This was doing less damage than it should, so now it's going to be a bit better. His A1 is a chance of extra turn. Then every 3 skills he does, he has a chance to do, or he unlocks his secret skill, which ignores 50% defense and gives him 50% turn meter if it crits. So it's a solid enough move, right? This does hit fairly hard, single target. It gives him turn meter boost, which is nice. You know, it's not an extra turn like a Rotus gets, let's say, on his A3, but it's nice. Kind of the problem you run into is this guy, he doesn't hit crazy hard. He doesn't have any block revive. So it can actually be quite difficult for him against a tanky team to actually secure kills. He does have a very good aura, and he has an extremely good passive. Like, the passive is, for me, no question the best thing about him. Gives him a shield equal to 25% of his max HP for 2 turns at the end of every single one of his turns. So it's a nice shield because he's a HP-based nuker. He's going to have, you know, very high HP. So that's good, right? It's a big shield for keeping him alive. But even more importantly, he cannot receive critical hits while under shield placed by this champion. That's super strong. That is so strong. It just becomes really difficult to kill because, you know, how do you break the shield? It's tough. Like, how do you break a shield if you can't crit him? Most damage dealers won't do much damage. It's a pretty substantial shield. It can be tough to actually break the shield, and he replenishes it every turn. Oh yeah, that's nice. It's good. It's a really strong passive. Like, it's actually a phenomenal passive. Like, it's kind of insane. But is it enough? I don't know. And obviously, you know, if buff strippers come back into the meta, that leaves him more vulnerable. Though he'd still be very tanky. There's no question. He's got great defense, great HP. You're building his HP high. He's going to be very tanky. Is he worth going for? I don't know. The funny thing is, Taras has really, I think, skewed the balance of HP nukers. Because if we ignore Taras, who's the best nuker in the game, in fact, he's the best champion in the game, I would say, right now. You know, he's just unbelievable on another level. Like, who is the best HP damage dealer after Taras? It might actually be Fatalis Blademaster, which is crazy to say. Like, there's a gulf between them. It is massive. Arix is also really good, you know, because she's got AoEs on everything. She's a free champion as well. She's got the AoE A1 with a counterattack. She hits quite hard. She's quite good. Like, Mountain King is good, but he's single target. I mean, Magnar has sort of really been power crept at this point. I mean, he does hit, you know, hard. He hits hard with the one nuke, but that's sort of all that he's got going for him. You know, so yeah, Magnar, not bad. That's, you know, is there that big of a leap between Magnar and Fatalis Blademaster? Magnar has a bigger upfront nuke. Fatalis Blademaster does less damage. Really, he does less damage, but he does have a crazy passive, and he is a legendary, so he will scale better with blessings, with empowerment, with faction guardians, with everything like that. He does have more potential. I don't know. I might go for him. I have lots of shards. I might go for him just because he is limited edition, and perhaps they buff him, perhaps not. I'm not sure. Maybe he'll be useful for me in live arena. I don't really know. He really needs to be booked. He gets 30% damage from book, so you need to book him, right? There's no way you're running a damage dealer and having them be viable if you're doing 30% less damage. I'm conflicted on this one. I could understand even skipping it just as a matter of principle. Just been like, I'm not supporting this nonsense. But yeah, like, I could maybe, I do use Arix. I could use him instead of Arix. It's possible. It is possible that he could actually be okay for me. Again, if you've got like Taras, Harima, Rotus, those sorts of champs, Wukong as well, like an attack nuker. You know, like, let's talk more tanky nukers like Ragash and Staltus and all of those. Certainly, if you got Taras, Harima, there's not much room for this guy. I don't know. I'm very torn on this. That's what I'm trying to say, but I just want to fill you guys in. Again, the most important thing is we're going to have a fusion coming up, right? And or Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Again, I would, to be safe, I'd want to have at least 7 sacreds worth of points. Now, you can make those points up for a summon rush. You can make them up in green shards. That's miserable. You can make them up with void shards, even primals if you had to. But voids are pretty good. And like, if you want to spend money, buying voids is pretty good for summon rush. I think it's the best value, quote unquote, out of all the shards, like money to summon rush points wise, typically. So that's fine. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, maybe even this we don't even know for sure. Maybe this hero's path, because he is a void, or this deck of fate, I should say. Maybe it will lean more towards void shards. I'm not entirely sure. So we'll see how much each one gives. We'll do it tomorrow. I might go for it just because he's limited. I've got enough shards certainly to do it, and to do the fusion. I'd be then bereft of shards after that, except for ancients. I've got monstrous amounts of ancients right now, but low on everything else. So we'll see. We'll figure it out. But just wanted to fill you in on this today. And again, to reiterate, this is a surprise to me. We had official info from Plarium saying the only way to get Fatalis Blademaster was just to get lucky and pull him from shards. Well, they didn't say to get lucky. They said specifically his only source is shards, whereas other champions were openly declared as being from in-game events. This is an in-game event, and that was not clear to us. So, yeah, I feel so bad for you, anyone that decided to fork out tens, hundreds, thousands of dollars chasing this guy in a 10x, only for this to come out now. Wow. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a good weekend. Goodbye.